Welcome back to the Majestics podcast, episode 3. But I feel like this is 2.0 because the first couple talked about some interesting things. I think we've learned a lot about how these things need to work. I think relaxed into it a little bit.
The set is certainly it's pretty upgraded, haven't we?
Yeah. The beauty of having a few co-captains is that we can kind of pick and choose who we have in the podcast. We've got Lee Westford today, so looking forward to that. And my co-team principal, Ollie Bates. We've got some interesting topics to chat through today. There's been a lot going on, which I think previously we might have shied away from talking about a little bit, but
now we don't just give a shit. Is that it?
No, but I think we got an interesting take on some of these things, right? So I think there's a lot of stuff out there now that is public domain. People will or will not find our take on those things interesting. We'll either continue doing it or we won't, I suppose. But
podcasts are always better when people are honest, aren't they?
For sure.
Nobody wants to be spunny yarn.
Like this here is something they wouldn't hear on the TV necessarily. So we just getting into the nitty gritty, maybe pushing the boundaries a little bit more. We've got trading, we've got open spots, we've got qualifying events, we've got Jon Rahm blazing all over the news. We've been in our off-season camp this week. Loads of cool stuff. I think it's been quite. I mean, we're sitting here at the end of the day. It's been quite tiring. Like they're quite draining long days was all that we're trying to achieve, but it's been nice to spend some time together. I think there's been some good quality stuff to talk about in there. Hopefully everyone's found it pretty valuable. Topic number 1, schedule. Brooks will be pleased. We're all pleased with the schedule out there now. We can have a bit of chat through schedule. Transfer window. This kind of new thing in golf that nobody seems to be really talked about too much, but there's actually quite a bit of drama going on with signings and potential trades, etc.
All we need is Darmashef and his yellow tie coming on now, giving it a full transfer special, which we're just missing a little bit of at the moment.
Breaking news.
Breaking news, yeah.
Is anyone check their phone actually? Like, has Jon Rahm made official yet? So we're going to talk through all that kind of stuff, any rumours, the planned event, which it's going to be fascinating. Like, unlike any other event in golf, the opportunity is going to give people on that format where it's not about accumulation, it's about getting hot at the right time more so than any other tournament. And then just keep a few closing thoughts on these few days, giving people a bit of an idea of what we've been talking about and some closing questions on that and as we lead into next year. So lots to get into. Let's go back to the start. Schedule. The long-awaited schedule is now out. Reactions, thoughts, any surprises in there?
Not really, other than the season-ending event might not be at Doral.
Yeah.
No Korea, which was rumoured to be happening. But yeah, I like the balance of how many in America and how many around the rest of the world outside the States.
Yeah.
I think one of the great things about LIV is it has an opportunity to showcase golf wherever it wants, really. It's not like it has to do Europe or do Asia or do the States. We can go wherever we want and go to the markets that we want.
It's a good international roster, but it's actually some great cities in America as well.
Yeah.
Like if you look at where we're going now, the Miami's, the Vegas, the
Nashville, I'm looking forward to, yeah.
In great spots, the Virgin Cities. Really, really cool one.
Vegas, the week of the Super Bowl.
Should be quite weak.
Should be good. Especially if the 49ers are there.
Anything that the 49ers.
Is there any on there that you're particularly excited about going to?
I'm excited about all of them. If I had to pick some out, Adelaide was outstanding last year, wasn't it? Yeah. It's nice to be going back to Hong Kong. You haven't played Hong Kong for a long time. Vegas is obviously going to be incredible. I enjoyed most of them, to be honest. I think they're good venues. Looking forward to Nashville. That's a great place.
From friends and golf course supposed to be as well. The Grove, is it cool?
Yeah, the Groves, yeah.
Have you been?
No, I haven't been there. But I mean, just going back to Vegas, golf course on the Strip in Vegas, and you were just seeing the Formula One Grand Prix go there, and how much you were there, you were at the Grand Prix, how impressive that was, and being able to lean into an iconic destination in the States, just awesome.
The thing is with Vegas, everybody that goes to Vegas is wanting to go and have fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're there pretty much for fun, and that's great with sporting events going on. Yeah, everybody's there for a good time. Yeah,
And we did, like, it is on the strip, and we played it. And the last 3 or 4 holes in particular kind of go back into the strip, so you're kind of in this weird metropolis with everything over the top of you. The golf course. Most of them like the family golf course, there's not really, you wouldn't say there's many sandy golf courses on the schedule either, and there's a good variety. It's pretty short, fiddly track as well, I would say that as well. The rough was fit even then, which I think is their plan. Otherwise, it's a lot of wedges in your hands and stuff like that, but it's still a great test. Would you say there's any favourites you think that will suit us?
I feel like Valderrama should suit us.
Yeah. That was one of the most disappointing events last year for us, I felt like.
Yeah. I hadn't really thought about it. I feel like where you've got to work the ball, so it sounds like Vegas should suit. Adelaide, you have to work it a little bit. Hong Kong, definitely have to work it around. Yeah. That is sure. There's a reason why I've only played that golf course once. That's all it was.
Singapore was interesting, wasn't it, last year? Because that was a golf course we went to thinking, like, this is right up our street. We've had obviously winners round there, great track, went there, and then didn't really materialise into what we thought. Like, it was...
Well, I went thinking it was a hard golf course.
Yeah.
I went thinking 700, 800 is going to win this, and all of a sudden they're shooting 700 and 800 in a round.
Yeah.
I played Barclays tournaments there and things like that many years ago, so nearly 20 years ago, and it felt really difficult. I guess that's how much the game's come on.
Yeah.
And the way the lads play on LIV, how much more aggressive they are and just go for everything. It was a 72-hole tournament in 2006 or something like that. You really had to fiddle your way around it and, almost make a lot of pars. Whereas this time, it just felt like lads were going out and trying to birdie every hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also a bit more condensed this year versus 2023. So start Feb, done into September.
Yeah.
Feels like a bit of a better fly. I know that's something you've mentioned to me a couple of times in terms of getting into a rhythm, and does it feel like it's going to be a bit more amenable to that for?
Yeah, there's a couple of gaps in there, and 3 and 4 weeks, but condense it into a shorter period of time, I think it's great. I think one thing that golf's missing is an off season, not just for players to recharge, but fans to recharge and get away from it and then come back to it with some enthusiasm, looking forward to that first event. A bit like NFL or football in the UK Premier League, where they have
got a bit of build up.
Yeah. You can run other stories through that off time and get to know the players more and the teams and get ready for the competitions to start.
The incredible thing about the NFL, and it's the same with the Premier League, is that the off season is almost just as exciting as in season, right?
Yeah.
Trades, draft, like, it becomes a big storyline. I mean, you've got a league that goes for whatever it is, like 4 months a year, and all of a sudden, like, it still becomes 12 months, all encompassing the narratives. It's just incredible what they've done as a league.
Yeah, they have that combine, don't they? And which I suppose the combine is pretty similar to what LIV are doing in Abu Dhabi in December.
Which is that's a perfect segue to what I think is the next topic.
That's why I led you into it.
Right. True Friday is the transfer window, the spots, and I think that's one of the topics that my mates ask me a lot. I don't think it's not out there enough in terms of how it works, so I think it's worth us chatting about exactly who's exempt, who's not, how many spots there are. So top 24 earn their spot, and then we've got a number of players, 3 of them on our team that are exempt for a number of years. With the top 24 plus the people that were exempt that weren't top 24, it left at the end of the year 9 spots available. 3 held back for the qualifiers from the qualifier win. 1 for the International Series winner, which we know is Andy Ogletree. So that leaves 5 spots effectively up for grabs for new players to come in, or people that were relegated or in the open zone that didn't get automatically picked up by their team. So these spots are a premium. There's not many spots go around, and since we know that, we'd obviously have G-Max signed for Smash, which we'll talk about. Pat Perez signed for re-signed for 4 races. I think it'd be good to do a bit of a rundown.
Martin Jones re-signed for Rippers, did it?
Not yet. Not yet. But I think we do a bit of a rundown of all the teams and where there's open spots, surprises. Let's start with G-Max signing. I wouldn't have said I saw that coming, but I think I get it from Brooks. Experienced guy, see it later.
Yeah. A name in the game, isn't it? Former major champion. Did shoot some good rounds last year. Last round in Saudi, he shot 63, didn't he? I remember he shot 63 that day. So, yeah, brings a lot to a team, a lot of experience. And I guess Brooks signing him rather than waiting for, somebody to qualify through the thing in December in Abu Dhabi. He knows what he's signing, and he's getting GMAC, rather than...
Yeah.
Here's a question though. So the fallout between him and Wolfie has been pretty well documented. Do you think GMAC comes in and potentially that changes the dynamics in the team? Do you think they actually go and they keep Wolfie, or do you think that's done and there's a trade in the works?
Purely on a golfing ability, I would keep that. I think I played with him a few times, and I just think he's got a wealth of natural talent, and if there's anybody capable of going out there and overpowering a golf course and shooting 61, they're on tough golf courses, it's Matt Wolf.
You know how well GMAC is in from Ryder Cup team rooms. You know what role he plays as well with some of the younger players, and it just dawned on me whether or not he does act as that.
Yeah, GMAC's great in Ryder Cups, vice captain, say putting his arm around players and making them feel valued and part of the team. So he could be that, yeah.
And you can't underestimate that thing. Obviously, we need to play well, right? That's key. But one of the things I think about is that we've got 3 captains. We can spread the load in terms of commitments, talking to people, and Brooks wanting to focus on his game. GMAC's fantastic at that sort of stuff, right? I'm not saying that's the reason he signed it, but I think that is another added bonus you get with playing like that.
It takes a bit of the load off Brooks, doesn't it? For sure.
Yeah, he can focus on his game. I can't see Wolfie. I'd be shocked if he stayed there. I completely get what he's saying, but I think that's a really interesting one to watch and see where he ends up. I think one thing that reassures you of teams wanted him, although they are filling up.
They're leaving it late, aren't they?
Yeah. So next team on my list, these are in no particular order, is Cleats. So Cleats got 2 spots open. Martin Keimer, captain, wasn't top 24, but exempt. Glanby, top 24, great season. These things are some great performances. Obviously, they burnt. I don't think he was relegated. I think he was in the open zone. They've obviously made a decision not to re-sign him. It's been interesting to observe. Burnt made the decision to go back to the European Tour.
Yeah.
Which has been an interesting one. Paid his fines off, gone back, made a statement about it.
Has he still got an exemption on the European Tour?
Career money.
Yeah,
so he'll take his career money for the last time. But yeah, there was a big announcement, big fanfare.
Yeah.
European Tour announcement, Burn Beast announcement.
Well within his rights to go back. He's paid all his fines.
Yes.
He's taken the penalty on the chin and he's he's written his off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not playing the playoff event, so I think that was, I guess there was always going to be one person that happened, so it's been him. And then, who's the 4th player on the 18? Blandy, Martin, Burn, and was it?
Might have to cut this bit.
Who was the 4th player?
GMAC.
Sure.
Sure.
So GMAC didn't get picked up, but he's obviously gone to Smash. So they've got 2 spots. Look, again, it's going to be interesting. You would think at least one of those spots is going to end up going to one of the qualifiers from the qualifier event. So could throw up a bit of a curveball for them.
1 or 2, I would say.
Yeah. 4 aces next on my list. So had 1 spot. All 3 PTU line, DJ and I can't remember his people.
Patrick
Reed, all top 24, great seasons. Pat Perez, not his best season, but Dustin's pretty quick to re-sign.
Strongest 4th man, I think, wasn't he? For the season.
Is that what he was?
I think so.
Good knowledge on the stats.
Well, don't take my word for that, but I think he could possibly, yeah.
They seem to have, just through the season, we were digressing a bit. every third round when it came around the corner, they seemed to have unbelievable third rounds. They were just there or thereabouts. They would find their way into contention.
Yeah.
And Pat was part of that. Like he was up there, and they did a great job really of kind of pushing them on.
Definitely given Pat a new lease of life. You know, I see him in the gym regularly.
Yeah.
He's
He's got himself in better shape.
much better shape, unbelievable shape now.
Works on his game.
Yeah.
So,
In those days, well, they let the team standings at the end of the year. Yes, and they won the team world championship the year prior. It's hard to break that band up, you would think. So no surprise then that it'll be a strong team. Crushers, again, everybody top 24. Bryson, Charles Howell, Paul Casey didn't finish top 24, but was exempt. Team world championship, stayed together.
carrying a few injuries, born, isn't he?
Yeah,
That'll be the reason he just played to his full. But how we know he can play.
And again, strong team, stayed together, no surprises there. You'd expect them to be competing again next year. Ripper, again, 2 spots available. Mark Leishman and Cav Smith, both pretty good seasons. Jed and Matt Jones, not. And I expected to probably see Matt Jones gets re-signed potentially pretty quick, which leads me to believe there might be some other options at play there for Cam.
I'm sure they want to stay as an Australian team, though.
Completely agree. Like, I mean, the market is so good, right? You know, the Adelaide, they released all the tickets they made for hospitality, sold something like 75% in the first 24 hours. Like, it's a thriving like opportunity for the Australian team. You know, to go and find 2 worthy Australians for that team is going to be potentially a challenge. So you'd like to think that Matt Jones is going to be one of the players that will stay in part of that band, and then you know, potentially one more to come.
And that was one of the interesting things for me with the team now. There was no geographic links initially, but I think that's starting to manifest itself with Ripper. And you see that actually in all the social media followers stuff. Those teams that have a more obvious geographic tie, Stingers, Fireballs, Torquay. You know, I think we fall into that bracket with the kind of British Europe of the other side. You think they'll stay in Australia or with Australians. So they've got some, you know, work to do to fill out their team. Range Goats, again, locked. I don't think they all finish top 24, but they're all exempt. Again, another strong team.
Yeah.
This may be controversial, but the one person for me in that team that doesn't feel like they fit the brands necessarily is Tom Peters. It's obviously not going to change this year, but I can see him being a player that maybe plugged in elsewhere in the future.
To a European team, if there was one.
Great player.
Yeah.
I know you speak very highly of him, but
Yeah, he's a
great player, super talented.
Not sure he realises how good he is. Seems like that kind of player to me.
Very relaxed, but you know, you feel like, you know, when he won in Abu Dhabi in 2022, I wouldn't say, you know, you felt like at that point it was
Yeah.
the sky's the limit.
I thought playing in the Ryder Cup might be the catalyst for it.
Yeah,
And Hazeltine played great once he got away from Nate in the first match. Played with Rory, didn't he? And you know, sometimes playing well in a Ryder Cup like that can really give you the confidence as you've done it on the world stage to really take it away and kind of run with it.
But he's also one that didn't really wasn't a huge fan of America.
No, I don't.
That's the other thing. He was always the PGA to move to America, and
Yeah.
for a lot of people that's great. But I think to have a schedule that gets you at home more and you see the world more is actually quite attractive for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Ironheads, 1 spot open.
John Scott Vincent did that final event of the year to
what a shot!
get
Getting
into
18.
top 24. Yeah.
You know, it was close, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
under the gun, and not whether he knew he had to hit that shot or not, but to put it on the green to 20.
Well, he knew what he had to do the last round, didn't he?
Yeah.
He knew what position he was in, where he had to finish going into that final round, and did it. So, every credit.
And you love that story because he's one of the guys that got there from the Asian tour, got his chance, kept it, stayed it, and you watch him see it around. He really works at it.
And that's the opportunity that somebody's going to have from this qualifying event. You know, you're going to find the next Scott Vincent, aren't you? Or,
People forget though, Scott Vincent was an unbelievably good amateur as well. But you know, it's when you go onto the professional side, people, you know, you wet your feet in the first few years, and you kind of forget where it was. But he was, you know, top 20 amateur in the world, really classy player. Came out with him on the Sunshine Tour, did a lot, and has kind of almost down his stripes, has worked his way through a number of different tours, got given his opportunity, and took him both onwards.
he actually lives in Colorado or something like that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's actually looking to move to Orlando as well. Like last year, he was looking around, thinking, "Oh, this is going to be a good spot for him." So, it makes a lot of sense, right? I think there's a hunt for him.
Next on my list is us. As we know, we're locked in, our 3 captains, and then Sam coming back for us. Looking forward to having a fully fit Sam Walston back for the full year. We've been around this week. He looks great. Excited to see what he's going to do.
Massive amount of potential there.
Massive. Yeah. I mean, you run through these stats, and we did our off-season stuff this week, and method some of the stats, and you just, you know, in his short lines is what he's saying. There's opportunities, so many scoring opportunities there, and it doesn't feel like it's something he's not good at. It's an awareness thing. It felt like when we talked through it with him. So yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens there. High Flyers have got 1 spot. James Byatt relegated.
There's a lad that's going to go away from LIV having improved, and when he gets to wherever he's going to play next, I think he's going to be a much better golfer for coming out on LIV and being in this atmosphere. I think he's got a lot of game. Nice lad as well.
Well, he was one of the people that I watched his stores. He makes a lot of birdies, but you know,
He just goes for everything.
It's interesting you say that, because that's exactly the same thing Laurie says and continues to say it, which is, I feel like I'm a better golfer now, having done the 2 years that I've done within this LIV circle, because the opportunity I've had to mix with players that I've always looked up to, the advice that I've been given, picking the brains of people on the fairways, each never had that opportunity, and you know, given that, go away, and hopefully that gives you, you know, a bit of a catalyst to get back on.
He's had 2 years basically to pick Phil's brain, hasn't it? You know, Phil's always very forthcoming with advice if you ask for it. You know, he's a thinker, and he's never shy to help somebody else. So, you know, that's going to be a very valuable thing for James going into the future.
Yeah.
Spot. You think that's the high Randy Ogletree? High Flyers.
Feels like a good fit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you think he'd be an American team. I sort of had in between maybe Smash and High Flyers.
Yeah.
Places to go.
And John Rahm in the Smash, I think that pretty much is one of the few open spots really which you can see him as an actual. No, what?
Could be a trade, but I think
Could be.
Matt Wolf wasn't he on High Flyers initially and switched, wasn't that what?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
So does he want to go back there? We'll see. Right, and then the 2 Spanish teams. Let's talk about that. There's a Torquay, 1 spot available because David Cruz didn't finish top 24, haven't picked him up. The other 3 players had extremely strong seasons. I want to talk about 5 balls at the same time, because although they could have all been locked, it hasn't been mentioned much, but Carlos Ortiz, top 24, has to be offered a contract by 5 balls. CD hasn't taken that up because he's not shown on that team. But
Feels like he's going to talk, doesn't it?
yeah, and that was, you know, you kind of heard that conversation a little bit last year, is his mates on that team very close with those guys, so you feel like that's where he's going to go. I'm a bit surprised it hasn't been done. You would have thought it would have almost been that's a done deal. So whether that means there's something going on, well, I'm not sure, but that's what it looks like it's going to happen. And then 5 balls, that would leave them with a spot that, again, you would think Pooch.
Jon Rahm.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Jon Rahm. We can't not talk.
I mean, that's the obvious one for me.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what's holding it up, right? Maybe there's that spot that they can't commit, and there's different permutations, and they're trying to work it out and figure out who we're going to fill the 48-man roster, right?
Yeah. So just before we get into that topic, because I think we've got to get into that topic a little bit. Stinger, all locked in. I think they're all top 24 apart from Charles Schwarzel. again, makes total sense. South African, etc. Deep Burmester on a win, didn't he, on the co-sanctioned European Tour event last week, which is great. So yeah, Jon Rahm, what do you think that does for the?
Well, he's probably one of the 3 people that draw a crowd, right? I'd say. John, Rory, and Tiger. I would say now Tiger's started to play again.
Yeah,
I would say they're the 3 that sell tickets. One was Aussie.
yeah, yeah. I love. It'd be huge. I mean,
Big carried
It'd be huge.
against on well with Sergio.
yeah.
By all accounts.
Yeah, and to be honest, throughout this has been the one person that, for me, hasn't picked a side. I think he's been very sensible and absolutely with everything he said. Not necessarily trying to say LIV's amazing or the PGA Tour's amazing. I just think he's spoken honestly and openly without trying to kiss any arse across the way. So not only from a great golfer, but to have a sort of ambassador or sensible, level-headed person like that, that'd be awesome. Do you think he goes? I'd be surprised if he didn't have his own team.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't have his own team.
I think that's what changes the dynamic a little bit, isn't it? Because, we've got 48 players. The way that the shotgun start works, you've got 3 players in each group. You bring one team in, you've got 4 players then. So that dynamic needs to shift a little bit. Because,
you bring another team in.
Well, exactly. And then you have more teams. And
yeah, but that kills the fact that I think you get, with the shotgun start, with only 48 players, you get too many gaps out on the golf course. Where
Agreed.
people aren't coming through
Yep.
for the fans that
Yeah.
have picked a hole to sit on.
I think they've always said that there is the capacity for more teams if they want to.
3 more teams.
Yeah, 3 more teams that's the perfect number.
60.
12, 4 more groups, and off you go. And there are gaps, obviously, in the shotgun start to be able to plug in where they need to. So I guess it's a case of watch the space. I agree with you, Jim. I think that having his own team really has definitely probably what you would like. So again, exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think awesome.
Isn't that the exciting bit about the off season as well? Like you watch every other sport, like whether he comes or whether he doesn't come, the storyline about it is developed, and that's what's been so fascinating about golf. Which the other side, over the course of the last 2 years, you've fallen on the storylines, the narratives. Like when has golf ever been like that? It's never really been as high profile as it has. You find yourself in mainstream news about the rumours, the trades, the possible kind of people going to LIV, the people, the personalities on the PGA Tour and what they think. That for me has almost put golf in the spotlight when it never really has been, if we'll be honest with ourselves. Certainly for a long time, unless it's a major championship or a Ryder Cup. So, I mean, what a great opportunity, right, for golf. It's awesome.
Yeah. So let's talk about this playoff event then. So another thing that I kind of get asked about all the time that I think is still working its way out there is how this is going to work. So 60 players exempt, the field's been now confirmed. We'll run through a few of those names, there's some interesting ones in there. 1 round, 60 players from their 20 entires will go through to day 2. They will be joined by, I think it's 14 or 15 players that have been exempted from round 1. So it will be circa 35 to 40 players that go into the second round. 1 round of golf, top 20 cut off, and then the last 36 hole shootout for those 20 players. 3 of them are going to get a LIV spot. So again, an awesome format. I mean, you've never seen before in golf because everything clean slate every day, right? Just got to get through to the next day. It's not like Q score where it's an accumulation. So
It's going to be incredible now because, I don't watch a lot of golf on TV. You watch the main championships, the Ryder Cup is on. Might watch Wentworth, might watch the players. But I will definitely be watching that on. And
I mean, it's going to be
so volatile.
well, volatile, but also it won't be the biggest check in golf, right? But it's a massive one in terms of the opportunity you should follow it. Yeah, I mean,
Quote, if you were to finish last every single week the following year, it's north of 1.6 million.
Yeah.
So, going into that, whatever the year you had, it's not like getting a PGA Tour card where, there are cuts at hand and you've got to play well, and this is a guaranteed amount of money. Look, we've said it so many times, but sport is entertainment. It's an entertainment product to have. The fans watching this, coming down the stretch, putts for that opportunity, it's going to be absolutely wild to watch on TV.
Yeah, it's going to be nuts. So the field has a few interesting names. I've shouted a few out. Lucas Beauregard.
Lost his way a bit, but a great player.
I think it'd be interesting to see for some of these players. Well, it's a new lease of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are you trying to do? When you're trying to get back to where you were, it's a hard thing, but it's a whole new lease of life for the game.
Who else have we got here?
Jeff Overton, former Ryder Cup player, again, gives him a new opportunity to go do something different.
Yeah.
I think we were looking earlier.
Yeah, he's been ill. Yeah, he had back surgery and I think got an infection or something like that. And so, deserves a break.
Yeah, for sure. Didn't play PJ Tour, I think.
For 5 years.
5 years.
Chris Stanley,
Yeah, another one.
Chris Stroud, PGA Tour winners.
I think there's a few Asian Tour players up here that are ones to watch for me as well, like Clyde Chico.
Yeah.
Met him at Hong Kong.
Yeah, won the Hong Kong
Open. Yeah, has played well since then. Real good player. He's a US college system product.
Some great young US college players from the last 3 years that may not have transitioned through the PGA Tour U system because that's very new, and then therefore have got that platform to kind of showcase their talent in, almost being given the opportunity to play. Like the Zachary Beaushoes, the Braden Thornberrys, those guys who are, world number one amateurs that are coming through like now, and another opportunity for them, as you said, right? They've battled it out, some on the Corn Ferry, some through Canadian, tour, now get an opportunity on LIV based on what they've done, and, through I would say like the whole of their amateur career have showcased unbelievable talent. So again, a cool opportunity for them to potentially to go on to get on to LIV.
Yeah. And then Laurie Cairns is in there as well. Laurie played as a sub for us 7 or 8 times last year. Played okay. I don't think he played as well as he'd like to, but I know you think a lot of Laurie.
Yeah, I think Laurie's got a lot of game, yeah. He's another one that could have more self-confidence, I think.
Yeah. But again, a lot of upsides in there as well. And the last one, like Jason Duffner, another name that's kind of fallen away a little bit and maybe got a bit sort of disengaged with the game. Again, there's a new format, something new, give him a new lease of life. And it's going to be fascinating to watch that event and watch 3 players, either reinvigorate their careers, get them kick-started, or find a new lease of life. But still don't think I necessarily want to be one of the teams that has got left that's got to take one of those 3. It's big risk reward scenario, isn't it?
Yeah.
Someone
Yeah,
could
there is,
get
yeah.
hot,
It's unpredictable, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you're signing somebody now, you can guarantee and you know who you're signing, you know what you're getting, don't you? What it says on the tin.
Yeah.
But relying on the qualifying, you might get lucky, you might not.
That's the thing, isn't it? It's an unbelievable product for TV. We're all going to watch it, but someone can get hot for 36 holes, make it through to that final round, final 2 rounds, the final day, and all of a sudden, that's it. Get straight into a team's round then.
All right, well, last topic of the day then. So we're here, we've been at a bit of an off-season camp this week. We've spent a lot of time talking about last season and starting to look forward to next season. What's been your biggest reflection on the last couple of days?
See now, refreshed everybody looks, even though we've got like another couple of months off still. Definitely I'm in the 4 or 5 weeks off. And people putting their clubs away. I don't think Ian's.
No, it's not hardly at all.
I hope he didn't leave a banana in his bag from Miami because he might have found it today. I think today's the first time he's played in 5 weeks or, touched the club. So, how refreshed everybody is and energized. And, when we come back from Christmas, I think everybody's going to be really keen to
Unless you look forward to playing health again.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
If they do it so running time.
like all jobs, right? It's what it gets to be saying it, doesn't it? So it's have a bit of, it's not in your body, it's your brain, isn't it?
Yeah, you need to recharge mentally as well as physically, really. It's even more important, to be honest, the older you get.
Yeah.
You know, you can. I think that's probably what attracts somebody like Brooks and Bryson to it. The fact that in their off season they can, you know, work on these injuries or little things that they've got in their body that, you know, need some focus and get that right, rather than kind of hammering certain parts of your body all the time.
Yeah.
Definitely the break and the off seasons are a huge benefit to certain players.
Yeah.
And let's face it, if you want to go and play somewhere else in the off season, you can still
100%.
you can play international series events, and Cam's down playing in Australia, supporting, you know, the tournaments down there which need it. They've really suffered over the last few years from, you know, GP World Tour and PGA Tour having these wraparound seasons and stuff like that. You know, tours like the Australian Tour and the South African Tour have really taken a hammering from that, and it's nice to see lads now valuing Australian Open, South African Open, going back and supporting their home tours.
All the boys about there, and it's actually fixing on the other day to have a bit of a look, and the crowds are really good as well coming over those events. Great golf course. Spoke to Laurie earlier on today, and he was saying how one of the purest golf courses he's played on the European Tour ever.
I know when I first came out on tour, you know, I'd do trips to Japan for the Visa to Heyo and the Dunlop Phoenix.
Yeah.
Casio was at the end of the year, and then I would go down, play Australia and do the Aussie PGA, Aussie Masters, Australian Open, won the Australian Open in '87, and you know, that was some of the golf in my career that I look back on with the most fondness. You know, the European Tour had finished at Valderrama in October or whatever it was. You had a little break, and then you went down and played these fantastic tournaments on unbelievable golf courses in the Southern Hemisphere.
And great fans, great people that love their sport. Or we saw in Adelaide, but I mean, you can see it like on every time you flick it on, you know, whether it be cricket, rugby, you know, golf seems to be kind of collecting a lot of those fans as well, the everyday sportsmen.
Do you feel that you'd be looking forward to next season more than you were looking forward to last season?
I think the fact, certainly from my point of view, that I didn't play very well last year. I played poorly, and I want to come out this season and make a massive improvement on that. That's why I'm looking forward to it.
Do you feel like there's going to be less distractions this year?
Hopefully, yeah. I mean, there's this rumoured merger. I don't know really all sitting on that. You know, I was thinking about that when we were discussing the qualifying event, and how maybe it's not got as strong a field as we thought it might get, because it's almost a shot to nothing.
Yeah.
But I think the PGA Tour saying that they're not sure whether they're going to sanction it, and the European Tour certainly not sanctioning it, has put people off. And with that in mind, if you're going to not sanction that tournament, do we really think that the merger is going to go ahead? It doesn't seem to me like the kind of behaviour from two tours where they're trying to hold out an olive branch.
I mean, the interesting thing for me on this whole merger thing is that, look, we know nothing, right? We're speculating, but the one thing that's been consistent in a lot of the communications from everybody on the PGA Tour side, I mean, LIV's they haven't made any official statements really about it, or GIS, but whether it be Jay or Tiger or Rory, they talk about this, that's still the target, but we've got other options. Now, to me, if you seriously thought something was going to happen, or this was pretty secure, why would you be having yes, we've got other options in making this
I thought they'd said in June or wherever it was that this was supposed to be exclusive between the PGA Tour and LIV or PIF or it was, and that the PGA Tour weren't supposed to talk to anybody else. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me that all of a sudden private equity were sniffing around.
Yeah, I guess there's nothing you do about them doing that, but how much you talk to them.
Yeah.
I think that is your choice.
I think one of the big problems that the PGA Tour have is that I think Jay is probably quite keen to do a deal with the ASA and the PIF.
Yeah.
Whereas the players on the PGA Tour are maybe not. So you know that's going to be an interesting. This is going to be an interesting couple of weeks.
Would you want it to happen?
Depends what the the stipulations are on it, what the guidelines are like. Personally, I like it that LIV sits on its own.
What about you? Like, what do you think the big advantages or disadvantages to a deal getting done are?
Look, I think that for the betterment of the sport, right, the fact that golf is so fractured still,
Yeah.
I don't think we can get away from saying that that is ultimately a negative, right? I think that that we live and breathe the sport, we work in it, you played in it for, a long time, but the average fan doesn't really know in as much detail, I would say, as what we know about the business that we work in. And therefore for them, I feel like it's very convoluted, multiple tours, what's going on, people going to different tours. The media position has always been throughout this that if you leave to LIV, you defect and you can't play in anything else anymore. It's just a little bit messy for me. So I think that one of the big upsides would be is that it would bring the sport so much closer together, and a unification, I think, in some respects, and everyone playing together. But the ultimate thing is, if you look at every single sports league in the world, the best leagues in the world are where all the best players play together. Like, if we take away all the politics, that is should be, in my mind, the ultimate goal, is that we should be able to showcase our sport, with all the best players in one product to the fan, and that will ultimately grow it.
Yeah. The people who this has been the biggest advantage to are the major championships. Because that's where, they must just be sitting back thinking, it's intensified the focus on them, because that's where all the best players play. Now, the trick for them is making sure that it's still all the best players coming. And that, people on LIV, the better players on LIV that, maybe haven't got a major championship exemption, don't get excluded from it.
And that's
because they're dropping down the world rankings.
Sure. And that's happening, right? There's a couple of the easiest example of that is Tyson. There's no Pedigree talking about an old majors. But if you put him up against, one of the things that sort of stats we're working on is there's a kind of a metric that takes into account all players, all tours, strokes down, and all that kind of stuff. And he's like easily a top 10 player in the world. That's just it's mad.
Look at the TV numbers from the majors this year. They were massive, and they were able, the majors, to be able to piggyback off that LIV versus PGA Tour narrative, and getting all those guys, in one event 4 times a year. It's an immediate hook for them. The fans want to see it. Like if we cast our minds back to 6-9 months ago, people were talking about, oh wow, how amazing would it be if you had a team event where you could play PGA Tour against LIV? We laugh about it and chuckle, but it is ultimately in the world that we live in now, where Jake Paul, fights against, YouTubers, and it generates huge pay-per-view numbers. That's what people want to see. People want to see, people going, no, this is not.
But all 4 majors are standalone businesses, aren't they? They're free to write their own rules and exempt the players, wherever they want them to come from. So I think, yes, they've benefited, but they're under the microscope now, aren't they? They're under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I think it's important for their product as well, right? We haven't got to look at it from that side, right? They have a huge opportunity to be able to showcase these events where, all of the best players in the world are playing against each other. If they don't do that, then they're almost tainting the product to some extent deliberately, because we know that there are huge personalities on the LIV product, and the world ranking, it's not accurate, right? I think we all agree that it's not a true representation of the best players in the world. So the challenge, I think, for the majors is, how do we find a way in which we can continue to have all the players, all of those, the best players and the biggest names playing our tournaments, because it's such a great storyline and it generates so much buzz, and still does.
There's obviously a amount of boards out, a bit worried about that, you would think, wouldn't they? Because it's got a 10 product. There's one more topic we haven't talked about, which we may or may not end up putting in this, but I think we should talk about it in a second. I'll come back to Sharon World Cup captaincy, but just finishing.
This is where finish the episode.
Lee, if you were sort of pulling yourself out for a second and looking at the 4 players on our team,
and what you would want them to be doing to improve as much as possible between now and the start of next season, what would it be?
I think Sam's the glaringly obvious one. Work on from 140 yards in. I think that's the one that jumps out the most. And as for the three of us, or Henrik and Ian, I don't really know with them. I don't understand why they didn't play well last year. I was probably a little bit under-golfed, and I'm getting a little bit older now, so probably didn't work on the game as much as I should have done at certain times. But they seem to put a lot of hard work in. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one for me. I think Henrik's driving was one of the best drivers, wasn't he? Which historically he's not been great. It's the 3-wood a lot.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, my opinion would be, I think you hit the nail on the head for yourself, Sam. I think with Ian, I think my biggest thing with Ian, this has been brutally honest, I think it's about the time that he puts in. We know, having been with him here all this week, he's a very busy-minded guy, right? And then he wants to make sure, with all the best intention, we're looked after. We got, wants to go above and beyond for everybody. And I think it's making sure he's got enough clear headspace, which
just thinking about golf. Yeah.
Think about golf. I think that's my biggest thing.
He's easily distracted.
Massively easily distracted, and I think that talk about technique and all this kind of stuff and looking at bullshit. But for me, that would be the biggest thing. Like, let's switch off things as much as possible and just really focus on golf. I think for Henrik, he's the other one where statistically it seems pretty obvious, right? Like, his ball striking is still extremely strong. The putter just needs to get one a little bit, right? Which I think has been his Cali Florida showed us some stats that he went back and looked at when he's had his best seasons, won FedEx Cups and won. His ball striking is maybe not quite at the level it was in those years, but the big difference for Henrik in the years where he's done massive is his putting, kind of when he's been anything. But
historically he's been quite streaky though, hasn't he?
Yeah,
he's gone. He's
on runs.
He's gone. Yeah. In all his career, he's gone. He had a good year, and then he's had a bad year,
I think he's a very easy. What I feel like I've learned about is I think he's very driven by achievements. Like, he gets a goal, and then he's like, when he came, the circumstances under which he came across to our team, right? All the World Cup captaincy stuff, like what he did to come out and win that week, was incredible.
He can clearly put stuff out.
Yeah, I think he's almost
and use it as a positive. Yeah. I mean, I could see something suddenly clicking with Henrik, and then winning a couple of events next year and start playing consistently and getting into contention all the time and winning the whole thing. He's still playing at that level. Very impressive.
Do you feel like with Henrik sometimes that he is very well suited to certain golf courses and not necessarily others? I mean, one of the things we saw in stats was just obviously, and he would say it puts a lot of spin on the ball, and sometimes has struggled with kind of the shorter irons on softer golf courses. And so, but when he's typically gone to some of the harder tracks where it forces you to kind of be a little bit more positional and hit a few longer irons onto the greens, in those tougher tracks, he seemed to fare particularly well.
But undoubtedly, if you put him on a golf course with 5 irons, 4 irons, 3 irons, 3 was in his hand, he's going to take some beating around that golf course, because he is like world class from 200 yards to 275 yards.
I agree. I think that's where he knows his biggest strength lies. That's where the numbers don't lie, right? His stats are still pretty good down at the lower end as well. I just feel like he's got a peak because
and if you hit a 3-wood 290 yards off the tee, there's not a short fiddly golf course that's not right in your wheelhouse, is there? I mean, think of Valderrama. I mean, if he wouldn't have to get the driver out round there, and he could overpower it with his 3-wood.
Yeah, agreed. Good. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But
I think they're interesting observations about what we can do. Last topic is almost like jumping back into this a little bit. I thought that's probably a nice place to finish it on, but we haven't even mentioned it too much as a group the last couple of days, but it's definitely interesting what they've done with announcing McDonald's captain for another 2 years, or to go again, right?
Yeah. He was successful last time, wasn't he? All the players raved about him, so, there's not too many obvious ones to be Ryder Cup captain. A lot have been taken out by joining LIV.
Yeah.
They've clearly stated that, if you're on LIV, you can't be a Ryder Cup captain. So it makes perfect sense to me to announce Luke. Gives continuity to it. Like I say, the players like him. He seems like he's in that place in his career where, his playing days are tailing off, and he can. Yeah. It's a full-time job, so you can't. Gone are the days where you can play and be Ryder Cup captain. Yeah.
And there's definitely, we spoke about it in the first podcast, right? Speaking about the Ryder Cup, but there's been a definitive, I would say, generational switch, and it was, it was forced because of the players that went over to LIV, and the regulations kind of, didn't allow players to be able to play. But, they've brought a lot of these young players into the team, and, Luke has, I guess, been, pretty instrumental in kind of blooding them within the system. And, look, they're going to be certainly there, some of them, for a long time. It doesn't feel like any of those younger guys are flashes in the pan. These guys are there for probably, a good while and a good time to stay. So,
I think it makes total logical sense.
100%.
Yeah, from a continuity perspective, from a planning and preparation perspective, to give everybody the appropriate amount of time to be ready. I think it makes total sense. I don't begrudge it. I just find it bizarre, based on how many stated rules they've always had around, make it twice, all this kind of stuff, and then boom, I know we're going to go back on that. I think it's probably the right call for a number of reasons. I just find it.
The only thing you could say with the decision is, if a merger does go ahead and you suddenly have to change all your rules, and all of a sudden a lot of lads that are on LIV suddenly become available for Ryder Cup captaincy, you've made your decision 3 months too early, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, there's maybe another indication of how,
and maybe that's why
they feel about that happening. But look, I guess we'll see. Well, I think we'll end it there. Covered a lot of stuff, lots of interesting chat. Thanks for joining us, Lee.
Pleasure.
We'll look forward to the next edition and finding some other interesting topics, or giving some updates on these things next time.
I'll be interested to see what Ian and Nick say about where I could improve my game.
If you've enjoyed this and you want access to more exclusive content, head over to LiveX and sign up to be a Majestics GC fan.